Ladies and gentlemen, let me tell you something real. Discipline is not something you're born with. It's something you create. Discipline is the bridge between your goals and your achievements. A lot of people want success, but very few are willing to pay the price of consistency. You don't get what you dream about. You get what you discipline enough to work for every single day. Discipline is like a muscle. The more you train it, the stronger it becomes. If you rely on motivation alone, you'll quit when you don't feel like it. But discipline is what makes you show up even on the days you're tired, even on the days you're frustrated, even on the days nobody is watching. Discipline is the bridge between goals and achievements, stronger than motivation, because goals by themselves are just ideas floating in your head without the power to turn them into reality unless you build the structure of discipline around them. You can write down your dreams. You can visualize them. You can even talk about them every single day. But without the ability to discipline yourself, to take action consistently, those dreams will remain dreams. A goal is like a destination on a map, but discipline is the vehicle that actually carries you there. Motivation is temporary and it comes in waves. One day you feel excited and ready to take on the world, but the next day you wake up tired, distracted, or discouraged. And that's when motivation disappears. Discipline steps in when motivation fails. It doesn't care how you feel. It pushes you to show up anyway, to keep working even when your emotions are not cooperating. And that is why it is the stronger force. Think about athletes who train day after day. They don't rely on motivation to get up at 5 a.m. and run miles before the sun rises. They rely on discipline because they know their goals require action when nobody is clapping and nobody is watching. A writer who completes a book doesn't finish because they were motivated every day. They finish because they had the discipline to sit down and write even when the words didn't come easily. This, a student who graduates at the top of their class doesn't rely on bursts of inspiration. They rely on the discipline to study when friends are out having fun. Discipline is what separates those who dream from those who achieve. The reason discipline is stronger than motivation is because it creates habits that last. Motivation might get you started, but discipline is what carries you across the finish line. When you practice discipline long enough, it becomes a part of your identity. It becomes automatic. You don't even question whether or not you'll stick to your commitments. You just do it because that's who you are now. That transformation only comes through repetition, through daily choices to follow through. Motivation will tell you do it if you feel like it, but discipline says do it whether you feel like it or not. That difference is everything. People often think they need to wait for the perfect moment to begin chasing their dreams. But discipline teaches you there is no perfect moment, only the one you choose to act in. The person who waits for motivation to strike will always be waiting, while the disciplined person is already moving forward, already building progress brick by brick. The disciplined person may not always move fast, but they move consistently, and consistency always wins in the long run. That is why discipline is the bridge, because without it, the distance between your dream and your achievement is too wide to cross. Discipline also builds confidence because every time you keep a promise to yourself, you prove that you are reliable, that you are capable, that you can be trusted with your own dreams. Motivation can make you feel good temporarily, but discipline makes you feel proud permanently. Discipline gives you the quiet satisfaction of knowing that you showed up, you gave your best, You stay true to the path, and that feeling is far more powerful than any motivational rush. Every small act of discipline compounds over time, and eventually those small acts become the foundation of a great life. It's why people who master discipline succeed, because while others quit when they don't feel like it, the disciplined ones push through. And that persistence is what creates breakthrough. Success comes from preparation and consistency, not just desire. Because wanting something is never enough if you don't position yourself to receive it and build the endurance to hold on to it. Everyone desires success in some form, whether it's financial freedom, a healthy body, or fulfilling relationships. But desire by itself is just a spark. Preparation is the fuel that keeps the fire burning, and consistency is the steady flame that lights the path. People often confuse wishing with working, but there's a wide gap between the two. Desire will give you dreams, but preparation equips you with the tools to handle the journey, and consistency keeps you moving forward when the road gets long. Think about it this way. If an opportunity shows up at your door and you're not prepared, you won't be able to take advantage of it. Opportunities don't wait. They pass by quickly, and only the prepared can step into them with confidence. Preparation means developing your skills before you need them, saving resources before emergencies arise, and sharpen your mindset before challenges come. It is like an athlete training for months before championships. So when the big day arrives, they are ready to perform. Without preparation, you will hesitate, you will doubt yourself, and that moment of hesitation may cost you everything. That's why preparation separates those who talk about success from those who actually experience it. Consistency is equally powerful because success is rarely built overnight. It is the product of steady effort, repeated actions, and disciplined follow-through. Anyone can give their best for a day or a week, but very few can show up day after day, month after month, even when the results aren't immediately visible. That's why consistency is so crucial, because most goals require time. And during that time, you need the patience to keep going. Consistency teaches you to fall in love with the process, not just the outcome. The student who studies an hour every day will outperform the one who crams all night before an exam, because consistency allows knowledge to build and settle into the mind. The person who exercises regularly will always be healthier than the one who pushes themselves only when they feel motivated, because the body rewards steady habits more than sporadic effort. Preparation and consistency also create confidence, because when you know you've been working steadily and equipping yourself properly, you don't have to fear challenges. You walk into opportunities knowing you are ready. Consistency builds resilience too, because it forces you to push through boredom, setbacks, and frustration. Many people quit not because the goal was impossible, but because they lacked the consistency to push through the quiet seasons where progress was invisible. Success is often hiding behind persistence, waiting for the person who will keep showing up without giving up. Desire might get you started, but desire alone is unreliable. Everyone desires to be fit, but not everyone prepares healthy meals or consistently exercises. Everyone desires financial freedom, but not everyone prepares a plan or consistently saves and invests. Everyone desires love, but not everyone prepares themselves emotionally or consistently shows up with patience and kindness. Desire is only the seed, and without the water preparation and the sunlight of consistency, that seed will never grow into the tree of success. The people who seem lucky are often just those who prepared long before luck arrived and stayed consistent long enough to be noticed. They were willing to do the work in silence, to repeat the small actions, to practice the basics until excellence became natural. That's the real formula. Desire is where the dream begins, but preparation and consistency are where the dream is built. Discipline means setting non-negotiable standards for yourself, because without standards, you drift through life, allowing circumstances, distractions, and other people to decide how you live. Standards are the invisible lines you refuse to cross, the commitments you hold to even when nobody else is watching, the rules you design for yourself that protect your focus, your growth, and your character. When you decide what is non-negotiable, you eliminate the constant back and forth of decision making. You stop debating with yourself every day about whether to work hard, whether to stay committed, whether to push forward. The answer is already set in stone because your standards have already been established. Many people fail not because they lack talent or opportunity, but because their standards are too flexible. They allow emotions, moods, or pressure from others to dictate what they will or will not do. One day, they promise themselves they will wake up early and grind, but the next day they hit the snooze button because they feel tired. One week, they commit to eating healthy, but the next week, they compromise because junk food looks easier. That pattern is the result of negotiable standards. Discipline steps in and says, no more negotiating. Discipline says, I wake up at this time no matter how I feel. I honor my commitments no matter the circumstances. I push myself to excellence regardless of comfort. Those are non-negotiable standards, and once you draw the line, you live by it. Standards also shape how others treat you. If you tolerate disrespect, people will continue to give it to you. If you set a standard that your time is valuable, people will respect it. If you set a standard that your goals matter, others will learn not to pull you away from them so easily. Discipline is not only about self-control, it is about self-respect. And self-respect grows when you enforce boundaries that reflect your value. The higher your standards, the higher results, because you are no longer operating on convenience, but on principle. When you create non-negotiables, you take charge of your identity. You start to see yourself as the person who follows through, the person who keeps promises, the person who doesn't bend under pressure. Over time, that identity becomes powerful because your actions align with your standards, and your standards define who you are becoming. If your standard is honesty, you don't compromise even when lying seems easier. If your standard is hard work, you don't cut corners even when shortcuts look tempting. If your standard is health, you don't sabotage your body for temporary pleasure. Each choice becomes clear because the standard already exists. Life will constantly test your standards. You will face opportunities to compromise. You will hear voices telling you it's okay to let things slide. You will feel the weight of temptation pulling at you. But the disciplined individual knows that every compromise weakens character and every commitment strengthens it. Non-negotiable standards are like guardrails on a mountain road. They keep you from drifting off the cliff. Without them, you rely on luck to survive. But with them, you create security and direction. Discipline thrives on clarity, and standards provide that clarity. If you set vague goals like, I'll try to work hard or I'll try to save money, you give yourself room to slip. But if you set a standard that says, I will work 2 focused hours every morning before anything else, or I'll save 10% of every paycheck no matter what, you have created a rule that does not bend. That rule becomes automatic over time. And that is how discipline transforms into habit. The truth is, greatness requires sacrifice. And sacrifice is easier when you know what lines you will never cross. Discipline is the tool that enforces those lines, reminding you every day that your standards are not optional. They are the foundation of who you are and who you are becoming. Sacrifice today creates freedom and pride tomorrow, because the discipline to give up short-term pleasures is the very thing that opens the doors to long-term rewards. Every dream has a price, and the people who achieve their goals are those who are willing to pay that price up front, while others are busy chasing comfort. Sacrifice is never easy because it asks you to delay gratification, to resist temptations, to endure discomfort now in exchange for something greater later. Most people want success without sacrifice, but that equation does not exist. The athlete who trains while others are sleeping, the entrepreneur who works while others are partying, the student who studies while others are relaxing, all understand that freedom is purchased through discipline and sacrifice. When you choose to sacrifice today, you are planting seeds for tomorrow. You might be tired now. You might be missing out on entertainment or comfort, but what you are building is far more valuable than what you are giving up. A person who sacrifices unhealthy foods today enjoys health and energy later. A person who sacrifices unnecessary spending today enjoys financial independence later. A person who sacrifices distractions and focuses on learning today enjoys the pride of mastery later. The world often makes sacrifice look like loss, but in reality, it is an investment. It is trading something small for something big, something temporary for something lasting, something shallow for something deep. Sacrifice also builds character because it teaches you that you don't need to give in to every desire or impulse. It teaches you self-control, it teaches you patience, and it teaches you that strength comes from restraint. Freedom is not the ability to do whatever you want, whenever you want. True freedom is having control over yourself. And that control only comes when you practice sacrifice. People who avoid sacrifice become slaves to comfort. But people who embrace sacrifice become masters of their own destiny. Every time you say no to a temptation, you strengthen your willpower. And that willpower becomes the foundation for every success that follows. Sacrifice is also what separates average from extraordinary. Most people want to fit in. They want to live like everyone else. They want to enjoy the same pleasures without giving up anything. But those who rise above are the ones who are willing to live differently. They say no when others say yes. They work when others rest. They prepare when others procrastinate. It may look like they are missing out in the moment, but years later, those same people are admired and respected for the life they built. Pride does not come from taking the easy road. Pride comes from knowing you chose the hard path and overcame it. Pride comes from standing tall and looking back at the sacrifices you made, realizing they were worth every ounce of struggle. Sacrifice also reshapes your mindset because it forces you to focus on the long game rather than instant satisfaction. Instead of asking what feels good right now, you begin asking what will matter in 5 years. What will bring me lasting fulfillment? That perspective shift changes everything. Suddenly waking up early doesn't feel like punishment. It feels like an investment. Saving money doesn't feel like deprivation. It feels like building security. Studying late into the night doesn't feel like torture. It feels like preparing for victory. The moment you connect sacrifice to freedom, you begin to embrace it with pride instead of resisting it with resentment. The greatest satisfaction in life often comes after seasons of sacrifice. The freedom to live on your own terms, the pride of accomplishing something meaningful, the joy of knowing you stayed committed, all comes from the discipline of giving up what was easy so you could earn what was great. Sacrifice today creates the freedom to wake up tomorrow without regret, to live a life that reflects your values, and to stand tall knowing you chose the hard road so you could build the better future. Small daily habits build long-term discipline, because discipline is not created in one giant leap. It is built in the quiet repetition of small actions that compound over time until they reshape your entire life. Many people think they need a massive breakthrough or a dramatic moment of change to become disciplined, but in reality, discipline grows from the little choices you make each day. The choices so small, they almost seem invisible, but over weeks, months, and years, they transform who you are. Waking up 5 minutes earlier, drinking more water, writing a single page, saving a small amount of money, taking a short walk, practicing gratitude. These little habits may look insignificant in the moment, but they are laying bricks for the foundation of discipline that will hold the weight of your future. Discipline is like a muscle, and habits are the daily workouts that strengthen it. You don't need to start by lifting the heaviest weight. You start small and build strength through repetition. The same is true with habits. When you commit to small, consistent actions, you train your brain and your body to follow through, and following through becomes easier the more you practice. That is why people who focus only on big goals often fail, because they underestimate the power of small routine. It is not about doing something huge once. It is about doing something meaningful every single day until it becomes second nature. Small habits are powerful because they remove the pressure of perfection. If you decide you must completely change your life overnight, you will overwhelm yourself and quit. But if you focus on one habit at a time, you can build momentum without burnout. That momentum creates confidence, and confidence creates consistency. For example, if you decide to walk for 10 minutes every day, soon 10 minutes becomes 20. And 20 becomes 30. What started as a small habit turns into a lifestyle, and that lifestyle is what discipline looks like. Another reason small habits are so effective is because they are sustainable. Anyone can sprint for a short time, but discipline is about the marathon, not the sprint. Small habits fit into your life without draining you. And because they are manageable, you are more likely to stay consistent. Over time, consistency beats intensity. The person who saves a small amount every week will build more wealth than the person who saves a lot once and then stops. The person who writes a page every day will finish a book before the person who waits for inspiration to write 100 pages in one sitting. Success is not about how fast you start. It is about how long you can keep going. And habits are the key to keeping the momentum alive. Small daily habits also shape your identity. because every time you repeat an action, you are casting a vote for the type of person you want to become. If you read every day, you begin to see yourself as a reader. If you exercise daily, you see yourself as someone who values health. If you manage your time wisely every day, you see yourself as productive and focused. Over time, these small habits build a new identity. And once your identity shifts, discipline becomes natural because you no longer have to force yourself. You simply act according to who you are. The most successful people in the world are not necessarily the smartest or the luckiest. They are the ones who built small daily habits and stayed consistent with them until those habits carried them to greatness. They mastered the power of compounding discipline, turning little actions into massive results. Small daily habits may not look impressive at first, but they are the stepping stones to everything you want in life. And every time you honor those habits, you are building the long-term discipline that will take you where motivation alone never could. Success is rented, and discipline is the rent you must pay every single day, because nothing great in life is owned permanently. It is only maintained through consistent effort. You cannot achieve success one time and expect it to last forever without continuing to work for it. Just like rent is due at the end of every month, discipline demands that you show up daily, do the work, and stay committed if you want to keep the results you work so hard for. People often think success is a destination, a place where once you arrive, you can relax. But in reality, success is a process that never ends. The moment you stop paying the rent of discipline, success begins to slip away. Think of athletes who win championships. They don't get to keep winning just because they won once. Every new season requires training, practice, focus, and sacrifice all over again. They have to pay the rent of discipline to remain at the top of their game.